Okay, here we go. So today is all about boxplots, which is another way to graph numerical variables. So a boxplot, which you guys may know from middle school or prior to this class as a box and whisker plot, summarizes the distribution with 5 key points. We call this a 5-number summary. The first number in the 5-number summary, you guys, is the minimum value, your lowest value. The second number in the 5-number summary is quartile 1. Quartile 1, you guys, divides the lower 25% of the data from the upper 75%. Okay, so quartiles, think quarters, it's going to divide it into fourths. Okay, quartile 1 specifically divides your lower 25% of your data from your upper 75%. The third number is what's called the median. The median divides the lower 50% of the data from the upper 50% of the data. So it's your middle number. The fourth statistic in the 5-number summary is quartile 3. Which you guys, I should also mention, quartile 3, we abbreviate Q3. Quartile 1, we can abbreviate Q1. Quartile 3 divides the lower 75% of the data from the upper 25%. And then the last number in the 5-number summary is your maximum. Okay, so if these were the 5 points in my 5-number summary, you guys, a box plot looks like this. You connect your minimum to your quartile 1 to make your lower whisker. Your quartile 3 to your maximum to make your upper whisker. And then we make a box with the line through the median. Just remember, the median was the third number. If you want to write by here, you guys, this is like your minimum. This is like your Q1. MED for median, Q3 max. Also, you guys, box plot divided into quartiles, okay? From minimum to quartile 1 is 25% of your data. From quartile 1 to the median is another 25% of the data. From the median to quartile 3, it's another 25% of the data. And that upper whisker is another 25% of the data. Now notice, some are less spaced out than, some of the quartiles are less spaced out than others, right? Because some of the data is closer together in some parts of it. Others, it's more spread out, okay? So keep that in mind. Okay, so here's the directions on how to get this 5-number summary in our calculator. So we're going to use data for runs scored in 2008 by the National League teams. Here they all are. So look at step 1. Step 1 says put the data values into list 1 in your calculator. So I believe this is the first time we ever put data in a calculator in this class for a list. So you guys, you need to go to stat, which is right next to the left arrow key. If the person next to you needs help, you guys, please help. I'll try and walk around as well. So stat, and then number 1, or you can hit enter for edit. Now, if there's data in your calculator in your list, which I'm sure many of you have, arrow to the top so the list number is highlighted and hit clear. Don't hit delete. Delete will remove the entire list. Hit clear. Clear is right below the down arrow, and then arrow down, and it should clear the list. I'll show you again. If you need to clear out a list, arrow to the top so the list number is highlighted. Hit clear and arrow down. Anyone need help with that? Just throw the pass away. Okay, so now you guys, I need you to type in, it looks like there's 16 data points. Go ahead, type in these 16 data points into your list. So you type 720 and then hit enter to type in the next data point. You guys, go slowly to make sure you type the data into your calculator correctly. Because if you mistype one piece of data, it could throw off multiple statistics. Does that make sense?
Does it matter what order we go through?
Nope. That's a great question. It does not matter what order you type it in. I'm going to walk around real quick. Just stop me if you need help with your calculator. I say, can you type all 16 plus 1? Yep, there you go. What's up? We're not to adding. We haven't done anything. Do you put the data in your list? Yeah. Nope, you didn't. So I can give you guys about 1 more minute to type in the data. If you need help, just get my attention. Okay. So you guys, we put the data values in list 1. Next, it says go to stat, which is right by the left arrow key. And then arrow over to calc. And hit number 1 for one variable stats. Now, enter your list number. I put my data in list 1. So the list numbers are above your actual numbers. Right on your keypad. So hit second number 1 if you put your data in list 1. Does anyone not have a calculator that their screen does not come up like this? It looks different. Perfect. I'm going to use yours. Yep. So you guys, your screen either looks like the one on the right or it looks like the one on the left. If your screen looks like the one on the left, you can just go ahead and hit enter. The calculator will automatically do the statistics for list 1. As long as you put your data in list 1, it will automatically do the statistics for list 1. Okay? If you have the calculator on the right, you have to tell the calculator list 1. You don't enter anything for the frequency list, and you just hit calculate. Okay? Now, step 3. It says scroll down, and there's your 5-number summary. So use the down arrow, you guys, and scroll all the way down on the screen. And that's your 5-number summary. So right here, it lists in order. Did you guys get a minimum of 702? Or I'm sorry, a minimum of 637, quartile 1, 702. MED stands for what, guys? Median. Q3, 774.5, maximum 855. Okay, so let's just, now remember, if you didn't get that, you guys, if you just typed in one number wrong, it could throw off multiple statistics, okay? So let's just write this 5-number summary up top right here. So I just listed my 5-number summary from my calculator. Do you guys want maybe highlight this above so you remember the directions to get that 5-number summary? Okay, so now it says make a box plot. So in order to make a box plot, we need a number line. So use your ruler, go ahead, grab yourself a number line, draw yourself a number line. Now above it says my minimum is 637, my maximum is 855. So I need to make sure my number line goes from at least 637 to 855. So I'm just gonna go by 50s. You can go by whatever increment you want. I'm gonna go by 50s. So that means I'm gonna start at 600. So I gotta make sure I cover all the way up to my maximum. So what do these numbers represent? These are runs scored, okay? So I'm gonna label this number line run scored. So when we draw a box plot, the box plot goes above the number line, okay? So let's go ahead and put a dot at each statistic in the 5-number summary. So if you can, try your best to put your dots in like a straight line, you know, do your best. So 637. So remember the box plot goes above the number line. So I'll put a dot at 637, dot at 702. The median is 741. Q3, 774.5. And my max, oops, right here I wrote 855. Sorry, guys, that should have been 850 because I'm going by 50s. My apologies. That should have been 850. So my max is 855, around there. So let's make our box plot. Connect your minimum and quartile 1 to make your lower whisker. Connect quartile 3 and your maximum to make your upper whisker. And then draw the box using quartile 1 and quartile 3. And draw a line through the median. Questions? What's our graph missing? Every graph needs what, guys? Title. Okay, I know we wrote one scored here, but let's be specific. We'll put, you can even kind of use this right here, what it says. Run scored for 2008 National League baseball teams. You don't have to have runs scored since your number line is labeled run scored. You can abbreviate in baseball. They abbreviate National League with NL. Okay, make sure you have the year. Make sure you have the sport here. Okay. So we have some questions off to the side. You don't need to write this on your number line, you guys, but just for a recap, remember, each one of these quartiles is 25% of the data. 25% in the lower whisker, the lower part of the box, the upper part of the box, and the upper whisker. Remembering that will help us answer these questions. It says 75% of the data is above what number? Okay, 75% of the data is above what number? Well, here's 75%. It's above what number, guys? Be specific, use your 5-number summary. This is at quartile 1, which is at what number? 702. Try and answer the second question on your own. Again, use your 5-number summary if you need to like reference that. What's the answer to the second question? Somebody said Steven. 50%. Good. Because 741 is your median, so 50% is above that. Okay, questions? Okay, a statistic we use to measure spread, you guys, and we'll talk more about measures of spread tomorrow, is what's called the interquartile range. It's abbreviated IQR. It's simply the difference between Q3 and Q1. Remember, difference means subtraction. It's simply the difference between Q3 and Q1. So if I wanted to find my difference between those two quartiles above, let's see here. IQR, what was Q3 above? 774.5. Q1 was 702. So our difference, 72.5. Questions? Okay. Rules for identifying outliers. I would highlight this. In a data set, you guys, a data set does not have to have outliers. It could have one outlier. It could have multiple outliers. It could have outliers in the lower direction at the low end. It could have outliers in the upper direction at the high end of the values. You guys, when we use these outlier formulas, the values that we get give us the boundaries for outliers. Outliers are outside of these boundaries or outside of this range. Okay, so as I mentioned, there's two outlier formulas. There's one for the lower end, and there's one for the upper end or the upper direction. Let's rewrite the formulas so we get used to them. Outliers in the lower direction are less than quartile 1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. Okay, so let's substitute our values in. Less than quartile 1. What was quartile 1 for this data set? 702. Minus 1.5 times our IQR. We just found our IQR right above here, 72.5. So plug this number directly in your calculator. So 702 minus 1.5 times 72.5. Outliers in the lower direction would need to be less than, did you guys get 593.25? Look at your minimum for the data set. Your minimum is 637. Therefore, are there any numbers in our data set less than 593.25 if your minimum is 637? Nope. So outliers in the lower direction, none. Now we're going to check the upper direction. Outliers in the upper direction, it's a similar formula, but instead of using Q1, since it's the upper direction, it uses Q3 and plus. So they would need to be greater than Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR. So greater than, what was Q3 from above? Yeah, 774.5 plus 1.5 times my IQR, which is 72.5. So type this number in your calculator exactly how you see it. Did you get 883.25? What was your maximum for this data set? Your maximum's 855. Did you have any outliers in this data set? No. I'm sorry, outliers at the upper end. None. Questions? Okay. No, when Boxplots do have outliers, you guys, the whisker extends to the most extreme value in the data set that is not an outlier, and I'll show you in a second. Outliers then are marked on the box plot as separate dots. Okay? So we're gonna try another example. So you guys, we need to clear our calculator and put this new set of data in. So how do I go to my list? Stat, and then edit. You can hit enter number 1. So we're gonna clear our list. So in order to do that, arrow to the top so the list number is highlighted, hit clear and arrow down. Go ahead, carefully type in those 16 data points. Take about 30 more seconds to finish typing them in. So this is for professional football player Chris Johnson's rushing attempts for one particular game this season. Notice you guys, in football, you actually can have a negative number here because it kind of just means they get pushed back. So negative numbers do apply here. Okay, 5-number summary. Remember, hopefully you highlighted this box on the front page if you need to ever refer to it in your notes. Where do I go? Back to stat. Yep, arrow to calc, 1 variable stats. Remember, data's in list 1, you can keep list 1 there. For those of you that don't have this screen, you can just hit enter. The rest of us, just leave frequency list blank and go to calculate. Remember, there's this little down arrow in the corner. Our 5-number summary is all the way down. Go ahead and record it right here. Hopefully you got -3, 0, 4, 8.5, and 91. I'm gonna walk around. If you need me, stop me. I can help. What's your date on this one? Okay. Anyone else? William, make sure you're writing this down. Don't draw the box plot. Box plot's gonna be slightly different here, guys. So your minimum was -3, your quartile 1 was 0, median was 4, quartile 3 is 8.5, and max is 91. Okay, we're gonna do the work for outliers. Because if there's outliers, we're gonna have to mark them separately in the box plot. So remember, 2 formulas for finding outliers, checking the lower direction and checking the upper direction. The lower is less than Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR. The upper direction would need to be greater than Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR. Quick recap, how do I find IQR, you guys, from the previous page? What 2 statistics do I subtract? Q3 and Q1, so that would just be 8.5 minus 0, so that's 8.5. So I'm substituting the values for the different statistics. Outliers in the lower direction would be less than what number? Somebody besides Devin. Plug in 0 minus 1.5 times 8.5. What do we get? Less than what number? Good, -12.75. Our minimum was -3. Do we have any numbers less than -12.75? No, so no outliers in the lower direction. None. Outliers in the upper direction would need to be greater than what number? What number do you get when you plug in 8.5 plus 1.5 times 8.5? Someone have it? Somebody besides William and Devin. Good, thank you. 21.25. You guys, are there outliers in the upper direction? Yes or no? Yes. So look at your data set. Your data set is conveniently in numerical order. What outliers, what's greater than 21.25? What data points? Yeah, 57 and 91. Okay, here we go. Let's make our box plot. So we're gonna have to mark those separately. So I'll label my box plot down here. You can label it as rushing attempts, or for those of you that know football, rushing attempts is measured in what unit? What unit do they measure? Yards. So either one's fine. Either one of those works. I look up here, my minimum is -3, my maximum is 91, so I gotta cover that in my number line. So I'm just gonna go by tens and I'm gonna start at -10. remember the box plot goes above the number line. So I'm going to start with my 5-number summary. I'm going to start with the first 4 numbers in it. -3 is my minimum. 0 is quartile 1. Remember, you're trying your best to put these in a straight line. I know it's a little tricky because you're doing this above the number line. Your median is 4. And quartile 1 is 8.5. So stop right there. Make your lower whisker in the box. Make the lower whisker in the box. Now, you need to mark the 2 outliers separately. So mark the 57, and what was the other outlier? 91. Mark those separately. Outliers are marked separately. We didn't have to do these in the previous one because then we have outliers. Now, your upper whisker goes to the most extreme value in the data set that is not an outlier. So look at your data set. In your data set, what is your highest non-outlier value? 16. So your upper whisker will go to 16. And then you put a title. I will say Chris Johnson's rushing attempts, and I'd put from the state. Okay, so just remember, when they have outliers, you mark them separately. If you guys need to, for the sake of notes, want to write yourself a little note right there about that point, that is the highest non-outlier value. For the sake of notes, if you want to put that's the highest non-outlier value. Okay?